It's a sign that Red Bull KTM found their new Ryan Dungey, and that's going to dominate motocross and supercross. Watch this rider right here, Eli Tomac, with that beautiful #1 on that orange motorcycle. I honestly thought he looked good in blue with the monster, but now I like the orange even better. And I don't even think orange is a very good color. But watch this KTM eat as he comes out here. Rah, heel shifts. Rah, and look at that sucker. He might not have actually heel shift. Maybe we'll need to like zoom in here and see if he in fact does. Yeah, it looks like he just normal shifts, but then that motorcycle just eats. And what does he do? Just uses that rear brake just briefly to get that sucker down. He lets that motorcycle wheelie the entire time. He just keeps his elbow down with just wide open. Normally, when something like this happens, you end up letting go of the gas or just briefly hitting the clutch to get that motorcycle to go down. No, Tomac waits till the very end when he's ready to start braking, so that he still comes in here with freaking Justin Cooper coming here trying to kill somebody. But I digress. And he still gets freaking damn near the whole shot. That is so impressive by that KTM. And that motorcycle doesn't make a whole lot of bottom. Usually, KTMs make more mid to top. But to come right off the bottom and have that sucker, as soon as he shifts, lift that front wheel. Woo. I don't know who to be more impressed with, Eli Tomac or Deegan for their first showing. Look at these tough blocks. I mean, I love these tough blocks for the sheer fact that they're made of foam and they just get everywhere, but they don't take riders out to an extent. Because what may happen is at the last moment, you might get tagged by another tough block. This could have ended in catastrophe because, at the last second, you have Ken Roxon missing this ominous tough block. That's like, the times when you're in a bad neighborhood and you flash your lights and then all of a sudden there's a corner worker that comes up and that's, begging for some favors with some money and you just go, no, I need to get the heck out of Dodge. So what does Kenny do? Kenny at the last second, midair, just shows you how freaking incredible these guys are on bikes. He is jumping, seat bouncing this triple, and he's headed straight for that. This was where he flashed the lights. Little did he know, at the last second, he was going to land, and there was going to be, that tough block right there. I mean, granted, these suckers may be able to just run through them, but he still didn't want to risk it. He said, no, thank you. I am going to go around this sucker. This is what I'm worried about with those tough blocks. Even though they may be made out of cardboard and some foam, what happens if you land? What happens if you case them? I mean, we saw what happens with Enzo through the whoops, and he was okay. But in this situation, I don't know. I need more information to figure that out. Could have been bad. But if we get back on to the track at hand, small sidebar, here's the #1 KTM. It's weird to say that with Eli Tomac, but look at how he just lands. It freaking hauls ass. Holy cow. Okay, he is basically off the track. Lands sitting down, is on that rear brake, and instantly just trail brakes and just drops the hammer, uses that cable clutch, just slips it and smokes the motor. Just how? Okay, I guess if you're going to brake, you might as well just land wide open and just let that sucker eat. And that's exactly what Tomac does. Lands hard on the brakes, hard on the gas, slips the clutch with that pointer finger, and just lets that KTM dig. Because if you watch Tomac and how he rode, that was pretty smooth as well. So what is he doing? He is jumping onto this tabletop, and man, I gotta slow this down. It almost looks as if that front wheel is not hitting the ground whatsoever. He hops on and just kind of does a manual little wheelie, and jumps off, wheel taps, and then gets over it. So maybe the track map was actually right for my previous video where I said, what the hell was the track map thinking, where they thought that they could just triple over this thing? I guess Tomac made it a reality by wheel tapping. And I know that suspension isn't the greatest on that factory KTM as of right now, but everyone over there, Carlos and Ian, they're making sure that whatever he wants, from the non-hydraulic clutch to motor mods to suspension, they are figuring it out. That is so impressive. Land, hauling ass, and raw. And truthfully, that was probably the fastest way of going about it, because if we saw him later, what he decided to do, because if I'm just slowing this down, you got Tomac that's tripling this, and then he's going to quad off, and you have this individual, Ken Roczen, who is the eventual round 2 Moto 2 winner. And I believe it was this one too. So he goes double, then steps on, and then wheelies. We can see, watch the gaps that are made between the two riders, because right here, what is the gap? The gap here, to me, looks as if there's, what, a bike length between them? Well, it doesn't stay that way for long, because Tomac does the cool quad, but look at that. Where are they? If I'm just trying to measure it, that's like 3 or 4 bike lengths now. So Tomac, I thought he might have been able to win all the races if he didn't use that line, but I somewhat digress. He still ended up winning the overall. And you can barely see it, but that is a scoop tire that Tomac is running compared to his rival, who ends up running, that looks like a MX-34. So Tomac is going to go down in history running the 34 for life. And Jason Anderson did some pretty impressive things, but I do think that there might be some team orders over there at the Pipes Motorsport, Progressive, Twisted, T, Suzuki, whatever, because watch him right here. Jumps, looks over at Ken Roczen, goes, hey, do you need a freebie? And boom, lets him just take the inside. But what do I know? This is something also that he was able to do that was pretty dang spectacular. If I just change things, watch his rear brake. Okay, he comes in here. He is hard on that rear brake, but then he gets off of it, and he is no longer on it and just coasts around, gets on the gas early, and he was the only rider that I saw do this. And I believe that Jason Anderson has had this technique for a while, where he has a lot of the engine braking do some of the braking for him. And on that new Ducati, I was surprised that they had a system where you could literally change from a harsh braking to almost like a slipper clutch feel, where you didn't have any engine braking. So again, if we watch this and have him not on that rear brake around the entire corner is interesting, because Tomac, Kenny, J. Coop, look at their foot. They are using that sucker as a rear brake. And we just saw moments earlier that Tomac uses that as a foot peg, and also just to a launch control for that new KTM motor package that he has. And kind of at bonus, I wanted to show you guys this. So there was a lot of talk about whoops this weekend with the rollers, and I do like the steam roll. It's not a steam roll, but it's a roll with vibrating, whatever. But anyway, you end up having whoops like this when they're made by dozers or skid steers, or even, maybe that one doesn't look as nice as a skid. Okay, it's something where you can't jump in, because you jump in and you die, because it's a very harsh landing to it. But after a while, the whoops that aren't packed in real well get real sharp. And what happens when you have sharp whoops? Well, when you get sharp whoops, because roost hitting on top of them from dirt bikes going, duh, 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 you can end up jumping these, whether you're wanting to triple or not. So in order to keep them like this, like the Paris Supercross ones, you're going to have to roll them. And I sort of think Supercross needs to do that. This is Johnny Hopper. Till next time, keep it WFO. Bra-da-da-da-da-da-da.